We are live. Good morning from beautiful downtown Crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California's Inland Empire. Looks like I got glare. Yeah, I still got glare. We are in the midst of the last gasp of winter. Well, last time I pulled out this book, I gave it short shrift. Hamlet's Mill. Hamlet's Mill. A scholarly book about myth. I skipped right over the preface. This was, let's see, copyright 1969 by the authors. This is a fifth printing. Where'd that go? 1999 paperback. I'm still kind of miffed at the way they quote pages and pages of the manuscripts that they use for sources. But let's look at a passage from the preface. If we come to think of it, we have been living in the age of astronomical myth until yesterday. Let me turn off the fan, the little heater fan. It's making noise. Okay, so if we come to think of it, we have been living in the age of astronomical myth until yesterday. The careful and rigorous edifice of Ptolemy's Almagest is only window dressing for Plato's theology, disguised elaborate science. The heavenly bodies are moving in cycle and epicycle, orb in orb, of a mysterious motion, according to the divine decree that circular motions ever more intricate would account for the universe. So let's go to good old Google. Bookmark. Ptolemny, a Greek living in Egypt around 100 AD in Alexandria, Egypt. We don't know when he died. Cleus Ptolemy was a mathematician, astronomer, astrologer, geographer, and music theorist who wrote about a dozen scientific treatises. And his, let's shut that and get back here. Ptolemy's cosmology was picked up by Aristotle and then by scientists of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, and eventually the Catholic Church, hence the fierce attacks on Galileo, which came from the scientists, not the church, at first, when he suggested that the earth goes around the sun. The church didn't attack Galileo until he foolishly insulted the Pope and several of the Pope's relatives, calling them stupid and ignorant. Good old Copernicus was never harassed at all when he suggested that the earth goes around the sun. He was a church prelate, had no problems. Kepler, the astronomer, who basically said, well, I'm going to say that the planets go around the sun in elliptical orbits and not the perfect circles of Ptolemy and Aristotle. Nobody bothered him. And he was almost contemporary with Galileo, a little later. They kind of overlap. And Tycho Brahe, oh, he's cited often too. Hi, Howard, in the chat. Tycho Brahe, the scientists attacked him, but his system was kind of weird. It did not just have the Earth going around the sun, but it had the other planets orbiting in these weird paths around the Earth and the sun. And it was the scientists who attacked him, not the church. So anyway, Hamlet's Mill, the preface. I'll start over because I've lost my place. A little paragraph, well, a big fat paragraph from the preface. If we come to think of it, we have been living in the age of astronomical myth until yesterday. The careful and rigorous edifice of Ptolemy's Almagest is only window dressing for Plato's theology, disguised as elaborate science. The heavenly bodies are moving in, quote, cycle and epicycle, orb in orb, end quote, of a mysterious motion according to the divine decree that circular motions, ever more intricate, would account for the universe. Well, you see, these ancient philosophers did not observe the sky and figure out what the planets were doing. They sat and discussed what was the best and most logical way for the planets to move. And they figured it must be a perfect motion, and the most perfect motion was a perfect circle. It took people like Galileo and Kepler and Copernicus to actually observe what the heavenly bodies were doing. I got to get the date for Copernicus. He's earlier, of course. Copernicus. Nicholas Copernicus, born 1473, died 1543. So he's just before Galileo and etc. And good old was a Renaissance polymath. That means he studied many subjects. Active as a mathematician, astronomer, and Catholic canon, who formulated a model of the universe that placed the sun rather than the earth at its center. So good old Copernicus, 1500s, followed in the 1600s by Galileo and Kepler, but in between, after Copernicus, but before Galileo, we had Tycho Brahe, who frankly was nuts. He had all these weird things that were even more complicated than the epicycles that Ptolemy and Aristotle proposed. You see, they couldn't predict the position of a planet if it traveled in a perfect circle, so every once in a while it would form a little tiny circle on the edge of the big circle to account for the fact that, for example, at this moment, Mercury is retrograde. Although I think it quit going retrograde and now it's going forward again instead of backward. Anyway, let's see. And Newton himself, a man of the late 1600s, early 1700s, so after Kepler, once he had accounted for it, simply replaced the orbs with the understandable force of gravitation, for which he, quote, would feign no hypotheses, end quote. In other words, Newton formulated in the Principia how gravity affected objects. Now, gravity is the tendency of an object to fall when it is not supported. But that doesn't tell you what gravity is, it tells you what gravity does. For example, something falling on Earth will fall at 33 feet per second. So as it falls, it goes faster and faster. But Newton had no hypothesis as to what gravity actually is. He didn't know. But it sounds really cool in Latin, or even in the English of his day. He would feign no hypotheses. Today we have astrophysicists looking for gravity waves or gravity particles known as gravitons. And of course, there's Einstein's theory that mass simply bends the space and time around it. But we really don't know what gravity is. All right, back to the preface. The hand of God was still true. Okay, the hand of God was still the true motive force. This is according to Newton, and yes, it was. God's will and God's own mathematics went on, another name for Aristotle's prime mover. Newton wrote in the introduction to the Principia, or as we often say in English, Principia Mathematica, he wrote that he hoped that his Principia would inspire people to believe in a deity. Okay. For Aristotle, it was the prime mover, and he had no hypothesis about what the prime mover was. And then it goes on in the preface to Hamlet's Mill, and shall we deny that Einstein's space-time is nothing other than a pure pan-mathematical myth, openly acknowledged at last as such? Well, I think that's enough of Hamlet's Mill. I just think that time I picked it up. So I might refer to it here and there in future podcasts. I think that's what this is, a podcast. Oh, a video anyway. But I'm simply annoyed at how the book is inflated by huge 6-page long quotes from their source documents. It isn't necessary to quote the whole darn Phaedra. of Plato's dialogue, when you're focused on one particular short section of it. But you see, the more pages a book has, the more you can charge when you sell it. What? Oh, hi, Witta. Hold on. Hi, Witta. Okay, what brought Hamlet's Mill to my attention was that when I was studying first communications and then English literature at Chapman College, professors and students alike kept referring to Hamlet's Mill, and I had no idea what it was. So I kind of eventually delved into it. Now, in just one literature course that I was taking, and I had 4 classes. In just one of them, I had to read 6 novels plus a big fat textbook. And that was just one of 4 classes. So I didn't have time to read Hamlet's Mill, which is like about 2 inches thick. Maybe more than that. I'd say 2 inches is a good estimate. It's hundreds and hundreds of pages. It's like about 500 pages. And it has some illustrations, but not too many. I've tried to read John Campbell's books. Hi, Witta. Yeah. Hamlet's Mill is something that academics talk about all the time, and I doubt that they have read the whole thing. I'll bet there's cliff notes or spark notes on it. Anyway, it is not an easy read. It helps if you skip the huge long quotations. They aren't worth your time and effort. But you see, the point is that ancient people had a significantly different idea of the universe than what we have today. It wasn't until the 1920s when Hubble used the big telescope at Palomar in Southern California to look at the night sky. It wasn't until then, the 1920s, that we knew that there were other galaxies. Most scientists thought that our Milky Way was the only galaxy. It was the entire universe. And there were these little cloudy smudges beyond the last of our spiral arms. They called them nebulas or nebulae. Clouds, basically. But Hubble was able to use the big telescope and the newly developed process of using photographic plates. Well, everything in the sky is actually moving. If you just hold up your camera and take a picture with a long exposure, like a few minutes or even 1 minute, you'll see a trail because the star you're focused on has moved. Well, they had a way of making the telescope move to match the motion, and he was able to get photographs showing that Andromeda was in fact another galaxy. And after that, many more galaxies were discovered. Not nebulous at all, and actual galaxies. So our view of the universe is evolving over time. It's just amazing because we actually look at the sky and try to figure out what those stars and planets are doing instead of just sitting in our uh, academic studios discussing things with other experts who also don't look at the sky. Although I suspect that that is what is happening in most of science today. They claim that their science is based on data. Well, data meaning statistics. And as I think it was Will Rogers, either Mark Twain or Will Rogers said, there are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. The conclusion you draw from the data depends upon how you analyze it. Yeah, I can get my hat off. We are in the last gasp of winter. The storm yesterday was fierce. Oh, my hair's a mess. The wind and the rain and let's get this halfway decent, thunder. Today it's just cold, but the sun is out. Actually, it's a good time for me to get out and pull weeds while the ground is wet and soft. Yeah, I should have brushed my hair before I came on here. It's bugging me now. It tickles me. Okay, that's enough of that. It's warm enough inside, not toasty, but warm enough. But I need to refill my water, so give me a minute. Let's see. Yeah, I'll be right back, so hang in there. Mm. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I took the opportunity to shove a Ritz cracker into my mouth. It was calling to me. Mm. Ritz crackers are not what they used to be. They aren't as um, light. They're hard to some extent, but they're still my favorite cracker compared to all the others. So we live in interesting times. And part of the problem is academic science. These experts with their PhDs who think that they're better than we are because they've read more books than we have. That's really what it comes down to. Uh, they are not better than we are. They're human. But ever since Galileo proposed that scientists of his day, let's see, they didn't call them scientists. In ancient Greece, they were philosophers. In Galileo's time, well, he talked about mathematicians. But he supposed that scientists form a sort of priesthood where they would tell the unwashed masses what was what. And of course, it couldn't be what seemed obvious to us. You know, we look at the world with our senses: taste, touch, smell, sight, hearing. And draw logical conclusions from what we observe, but the science tell us what things really mean with their expertise in science. Don't believe what your eyes see, believe what the priest tells you, the scientist priest. Very similar to Plato's idea of the philosopher king. Philosopher in his day meaning scientist. Ruling over everyone and telling everyone what to do, what to believe, and even what to see. If it didn't correlate with what the philosopher king said, it wasn't true. Well, ever since then, the scientists have set about building themselves a pedestal and standing on it. To rule over us with their superior intellect and knowledge. You can tell I really don't like them. Academic scientists. I have nothing but respect for, let's see, doctors, dentists, veterinarians, astronomers who actually look at the sky and don't just sit in their room doing mathematical equations. Although math, to my mind, is fascinating. Well, anyway, actual people who get their hands on and do things. But the ivory tower academic scientists, they don't take criticism very well. Someone who runs an actual experiment and fails says, "Oh, I did something wrong. Let's figure out what it was and try again." Someone who sits in an ivory tower reading and writing books doesn't do that. You mustn't criticize Darwin. Why not? Darwin expressed his own doubts about whether his theory of evolution could explain the Cambrian explosion, in which not only species but entire phyla, the next category up, just suddenly appeared seemingly from nowhere with no direct ancestors that they might have evolved from. Well, for example, let's see, lions and tigers and mountain lions and your cat are all cats, but they're different species. They belong to the cat family. And above that, Oh, man, my brain is fried. Well, they're mammals. And above that, they're chordates. They have spines, backbones, or at least a chordate doesn't necessarily have backbones, but it'll have at least a notochord, the spinal nerve, even if it doesn't have any bones. My phone is pestering me. Let's see if anybody wants anything I can deal with. Anyway, and more recently, it has been in the mostly in the shale deposits, the Burgess Shale in Canada and the, well, I'm going to mess up the pronunciation. I think it's Mao Shi Shun Shale in China. They've found that fish first appeared in the Cambrian era, and it was previously thought that fish evolved much later. But you suddenly find fish, jellyfish, swimming reptiles, land animals, all sorts of things in the Cambrian explosion. And before that, not much that wasn't just amoebas and things like that. So Darwin hoped, as he expressed it, that future discoveries would find the ancestors of these animals that appeared in the Cambrian explosion. Most of them within a period of a mere 6 million years, which is nothing. It's the blink of an eye on the scale of geology and on the scale of, what do I call it? Not archaeology, not anthropology, I guess zoology, the study of life, on the scale of evolution, even the more modern theories that have refined Darwin's evolution, they cannot account for it. Let's see, Witta says, a more modern problem with science is that corporations have taken over college textbooks and even what's taught and what our future scientists are allowed to say. Lumber companies to pharma. Yeah, I've discovered that some of the things in my biology textbook from when I was in college had already been proven to be false when that book was published. One of the biggest is on, let's see, ontology is an abbreviated recapitulation of phylogeny. It was suggested that in the womb, when an animal is developing from an egg to a fetus and so on, finally to a baby and getting born, that it's repeating the evolution of its ancestors. Because at first it's just a cell, then it's a clump of cells, then it looks kind of like a pollywog. Hi, Ralph Winter. Hi, Ralph. That isn't true. We don't go through evolution in the womb. So ontology is not. Oh, it's ontogeny. Is not an abbreviated recapitulation of phylogeny, but our book said it was. Oh well. Anyway, of course they taught Darwin's evolution, but it wasn't even a whole chapter in the book. By the late 1970s, they assumed that everybody knew all about Darwin coming out of high school. Of course, I was in the uh, pre-med track biology course, not the one for general education. But still, I was shocked to learn how many errors my college textbook had, and they were known errors. But these books are written by old guys who are simply going over an old book that they published 10 years ago and making a few changes and issuing it as a new book. And they do that about every 10 years. And they won't uh, recognize new ideas or corrections to their theories. So the young scientists who have new and fresh ideas have to wait for the old guard to die off. Okay, I did title this video Interesting Times. Boy, are they interesting. People seem to fear that we're getting into World War III. Well, technically, we're still in World War II. We simply moved the battlefield from Europe and North Africa and the Middle East to Korea, Vietnam, South America, more of the Middle East, more of North Africa, also South Africa. But what do I mean by we? Who are the we who moved the battlefield? Well, according to Philip K. Dick, the Nazis won the war. Germany lost, but the Nazis won. They just came over here and took over our resources in the United States. And to a great extent in South America. But that was mostly for hideaways where they couldn't get found. But Project Paperclip brought Nazi scientists over here and cleansed their records of war crimes. See, they were good Nazis. They were our Nazis. They ran our space program. Rocket scientists like Werner von Braun, or as we Americans say it, Werner von Braun. Don't worry about World War III. We never ended World War II. We just moved the battlefield. The United States really did not have territorial ambitions. We did not want an empire until World War II. Sure, we had the Philippines and some islands in the Caribbean, but the Philippines, even though we saved their behinds in World War II, they were always free to leave, to declare independence. And when they did, I believe it was the 1990s, we said, okay. There was no war. They just said, we want our independence. And the United States said, okay. Puerto Rico is a territory. And from time to time, they try to achieve statehood, but they haven't asked to leave the United States. For one thing, every Puerto Rican is an American citizen and can enter our mainland without going through immigration because they're American citizens. Filipinos used to be American citizens, but since independence, that no longer applies except to those who are already here. I am worried about Russia and China and Afghanistan. But I don't want to hear about the American empire. Yeah, we have soldiers still in Iraq, and they do get fired upon by missiles. We have soldiers in Eastern Europe, and I fear involvement in the war in Ukraine. That is a mess. And in the course of a podcast, there is not enough time to explain all the intricacies of the relationship between Ukraine and Russia, or between either of those and the United States. But remember, in World War II, Russia, actually the Soviet Union, was our ally. And yet they killed more people than Hitler ever thought of killing. And Mao Zedong in China killed more people, so many he made Stalin look like an amateur. So Stalin in the Soviet Union makes Hitler look like an amateur, and then Mao Zedong in China makes Stalin look like an amateur. But China was our friend because we repelled the Japanese invasion of China. Russia was our friend because they fought against Hitler and Japan, but mostly Hitler and Germany. Oh, Roger Spur. Ralph's been following Roger Spur for a decade. Mud Fossil University on YouTube. The geology of the Earth is biology. Huge giants and creatures that died after the flood. Yeah, I've followed quite a few, not that particular person, Roger Spur. I'll definitely look into Mud Fossil University on YouTube. Mud fossil looks like one word. Yeah, now they keep telling us that our oil deposits under the ground are made of dead dinosaurs. But it has been demonstrated that both oil and natural gas are still forming. Perhaps not to as great an extent as when the dinosaurs were wiped out. Sorry, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. But on the ocean floor, deposits of oil and natural gas do form in the detritus, the biological garbage, the rotting stuff. Coal is still forming. Yeah, it's made of buried trees, and yeah, when the gigantic trees of the ancient past were destroyed in the flood, they made tons of coal, but coal is still forming from buried, dead trees and other plants. No, that isn't the cat, it's my foot. I thought the cat was playing with my papers. That's what I get for tossing them on the floor. Ah, oh dear. I've begun to notice shortages at the grocery store. They are not super obvious here, but they don't have my favorite brand of coffee. And some of the, so, just a few of the shelves are actually bare, but some of the products, they're there, but only two or three of them, or maybe half a dozen. It's getting there. I have not seen any shortages lately at the meat counter. For a while, I couldn't find chicken livers, and I could only rarely find beef liver, which is not as good, but if there aren't any chicken livers, beef liver will do. But apparently, the store simply was not buying them. And for months, I could not get liverwurst. Now, I like Braunschweiger, which is smoked liverwurst, but either one would have done, and they didn't have either. I couldn't get any kind of liver. And I like liver, so there. Oh, yeah, prices are going up. Oh, your V's favorite coffee is catering to online delivery. 3 years, and Witta says 3 years ago ramen noodles were 25 cents each. Now they're $1.50, and the price of meat is terrible. Oh yeah, I couldn't believe the price of just a pound of hamburger is like that's more than I used to pay for a nice steak. It's so outrageous. But in some cases, it's just certain brands you can't find. Like my coffee, they had other instant coffees, but not my brand. And they do seem to have plenty coffee grounds, but uh, well, they have all the brands, but not as many of each brand as they used to stock. And when I'm not too lazy, I already have some ground coffee that I can make in the coffee machine. Okay. What else is interesting? For the most part, California has finally lifted restrictions, but when I go to the doctor, I have to wear a mask, and I want him to look at my mouth, my face. I have something going on my upper lip. I haven't brought it up because my broken back and kidney infection seemed more urgent. I have seen the urologist, but he wants more tests. Another blood test and urinalysis and CAT scan of my kidneys. Ugh, I got to get on it and get those done. But, life keeps getting in the way. And my health is not that great. It's okay, but by the time I spend, usually takes 2 hours seeing a doctor or getting the lab tests done. I'm done for the whole day and half of the next day. I'm so tired. And for the kidney scan, I'm going to have to lie flat, and that just kills me. I sleep elevated. I can't lie flat and sleep. It hurts. Okay, guys, I've got to recycle some coffee. And that shouldn't take long. But yeah, I'm almost out of water. I'm not drinking coffee at the moment. Oh, hi, Cardinal Sin. I was going to be on the desktop computer today, but my internet is all on data today. I won't have the high speed till tomorrow. So I'm still on the laptop. I could have moved the laptop to a better spot with less glare, but I didn't do it. Anyway, let me recycle some coffee real quick. Well, before I do that, I have learned that your vegetable soup, if it's all vegetable, no animal stuff, you can boost the flavor with a little bit, like half a teaspoon to a pot of soup of either Marmite or Vegemite, both of which taste disgusting by themselves, but they add what they call umami to a soup or a stew. Umami is what we used to call pungent. Oh, cool. Anyway, I will be right back. This shouldn't take long, so hang in there. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum. Okay, now my water's empty. It'll only take a sec. So hang in there. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum. I'm coming. I'll be back in a sec. Another Ritz cracker. Yes, Dragnet. I'm a fan of Morgan. Forgot his first name again. Not Jack Webb, but Harry Morgan. Okay. So we've got wars going on. We've got food shortages. The price of gas is a sin. Yeah, I still have to send V a copy of my book. V was the most recent winner. Wow. I'm not using the webcam at the moment because my laptop doesn't want to recognize it, but it works great on the desktop when my internet is working. It's awesome. V wants to try Vegemite. Well, Vegemite is, Vegemite and Marmite are almost the same thing. And vegetarians use them for flavor because, of course, they don't make beef broth or chicken broth. Well, Cardinal Sin likes Vegemite. I can't get past the smell, let alone the taste. But in a pot of in a pot of vegetable soup, they give it that extra something that you want for flavor. And no animals were harmed in the process. I don't know whether vegans consider yeast, on the naughty list. Probably not. They eat bread. They just don't use milk or eggs when they make bread if they're vegan. Or butter. The way I see it when it comes to things like cheese, butter, and milk, cows are not on the endangered species list because we like their milk and their butter and cheese. Do I need anything else? I have a keyboard and a mouse and that webcam that Cardinal Sin generously sent to me. Well, it must be an Australian thing, Marmite on toast. Ugh. No, my body rejects it. My mouth says, ew, this is rotten. Spit it out. Except in soups and stews. Vegemite and Marmite. Also, chickens are not endangered because we like their eggs. So I make no apologies for milk, butter, cheese, and eggs. The main reason I don't eat much meat is I can't digest it, but I do eat liver. And it's recommended by my doctor for various health problems. Let's see, magnetic screens. Yeah, I got the magnetic screens, Cardinal Sin. They are awesome. But I try to avoid eating animals. It makes me sad. It used to be on the family farm. They didn't just go out and kill something for dinner. I mean, their chickens laid eggs, their cows made milk, their horses did work. Cows did work. Um, they didn't do that. They didn't have, steaks for dinner every night, stuff like that. No. A nutritious salad. Carefully constructed. I love salads, Cardinal Sin. Right now, when I get off the line, I'll get the tomato, the avocado, the lettuce, and whatever else I have. I was going to have asparagus, but I seem to have run out. I ate it all, so I'll have to settle for Brussels sprouts. Now, I know many people go, ew, I didn't like Brussels sprouts. Well, I do. Smothered in butter and generously salted, sometimes a little freshly ground black pepper. Now, if you don't use butter, you can use olive oil. Now, that's an idea. I have some exotic, like Greek olives and stuff that someone gave me. I should add them to my salad. Though, in general, I don't like Greek olives. These are different. They aren't just the stuff that a restaurant will toss on your plate. There's something special, like with garlic flavoring and stuff like that. Greek olives are heavy on the vinegar instead of brine. Oh, you forgot your avocado. You better go get it, Gil. Go get your avocado. I think I have some celery. Yeah, I have celery and carrots and sweet white onion. We don't get vidalias too often here in California, but we get these white onions that are awesome. They're so sweet. If you think a red onion is sweet, you ought to try the white ones. Oh my, they're good. I bet I have some water chestnuts too. They're in a can, but they're just, they don't have much flavor. They're just crunchy, fun to eat. And with a little dressing on them, they're really nice. I like the raspberry vinaigrette. I've tried making my own dressings for salad, and it comes out pretty well. Well, you'll just have to get your avocado and put a little Greek yogurt on it or something like that and mash it up with some garlic and salt, or my go-to, garlic salt. And eat your avocado all by itself or on a slice of toast. Yeah, water chestnuts are awesome. And if you cook them in a meal, usually a Chinese style dish, they soak up the flavor of the sauce. My favorite, of course, is sweet and sour sauce, but not so much the red stuff you get at a restaurant that's either Mandarin or Cantonese. I like the Hawaiian style. It's got apricot jam and or peach jam, pineapples, pineapple juice, water chestnuts, and some other stuff. It's really good. Let's see. Yeah, every time you find something you like, they discontinue it. You see, I go to the store and buy what I like, and when it's all gone, they don't get any more. There was a cup of soup called Soon or More. Had a kimchi flavor. Can't find it. Well, I've never tried kimchi. Uh, so I don't know. I wouldn't know what it tastes like. But I'll bet you could get a jarred sauce that you could add to a regular cup of soup. I'm guessing that it might be oyster sauce, which I don't think it really has oysters in it, but if it does, there must be a vegetarian alternative. Oh, Etsequentia is here. All right. Anyway, if all goes well, I'm going to try to do a video tomorrow using the desktop computer and the webcam because does the webcam have a built-in microphone? That's something I haven't checked. I think it does. But yeah, I'm anxious to get on the desktop and off the laptop. The, the nice thing about having the desktop is I'm not doing all the social media or even all my email. I have 4 email addresses. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 email addresses. I'm just going to do one. And I won't have all this stuff. I won't be saving files and all that, so I can keep the memory and the hard drive pretty clear and clean. So like I won't download some app. I won't go to my bank account or my PayPal or any of that. Keep it very clean just for doing videos. Oh, wow. And if the webcam does not have a built-in mic, I'm screwed until I get an adapter because there's 3 DVD. It's not DVD. Wait, 3 connectors for. Forgot the word. Well, you know where you plug them in, and they're taken up by the mouse, the keyboard, and the webcam. So I'm pretty sure the webcam has a built-in mic. It's going to be really cool. Oh, stereo mic. Awesome. Yeah. Well, the main reason I wanted a desktop is every time I leave the house, I have to hide the laptop because it's so easy to steal. And I didn't want to have to hide 2 laptops. I have only so many hiding places. Plus, the desktops tend to be sturdier. They last longer. You can use the same one for years and not have to buy a new one every couple years. Like the next time Microsoft does a Windows, let's see, a Windows 27 or something, the laptop won't be able to run it. The desktop will. Well, I have the desktop computer permanently hidden. You'd have to really look for it to find it. You could follow the cables that go to the monitor and such. Although I have a way to hide them, I just haven't done it yet. But you'd have to really search to find where I put my desktop computer. Even the cat hasn't found it. But I don't have to pack it up and stow it away somewhere. It's already stowed. Oh, here come the clouds again. It got suddenly darker in here. Last gasp of winter. Yesterday we got a rainstorm you would not believe. And of course, the ski resorts got snow. But it's all good. The trees love it, and now it'll be even easier to pull up the weeds in the back 40. That's the back 40 feet, not acres. I'm having a blast pulling weeds. I enjoy it, but my back doesn't, so I have to take it easy and just do a little every day. But at this point, the ground will be nice and soft, so I can take the hoe. One side is flat and the other side is two prongs. I can take that thing and uproot them while standing up. No, only, and then I can rake them into a pile without having to do too much of the hands and knees stuff. Um, there are a few homeless drug addicts in this town. And frankly, there is no place they cannot get into no matter how well you lock it up. Oh. Oh, your desktop doesn't want to go to Windows 11. Well, if you don't want to get inside and switch something, you might hire an expert to do that, or you might just tell Microsoft, I don't want Windows 11. Lots of people cannot upgrade for whatever reason. Their computers won't take Windows 11, and they're perfectly happy with Windows 10. The only caveat is that they're going to stop updating, which means if some hacker finds a glitch, they might get into it. Oh man, poor V. Garage ransacked, they even took a juvenile wheelchair. Yeah, those are worth some money at the local pawn shop. Oh, poor et Sequentia, your internet did a crash and burn. Well, sorry about that. Yeah, I haven't had a burglary as such. My granddaughter quit breaking in to steal to eat all the candy and cookies. But I have had things taken from my yard. I use a clothesline, and I no longer put my unmentionables out there because I've had them stolen. And I had this rickety old rusty bicycle with two flat tires. I was going to put it out front with a sign that said free, but somebody stole it from my backyard. I'm going, I don't want it back. I was planning to get rid of it. Go figure. Well, people think cardinal sin is a computer expert. Oh, you worked at Radio Shack. I miss Radio Shack. Yeah, I was learning how to build a computer and program a computer and do everything from parts back in the 90s, mid 90s. Everything is so different now. What I learned in that course would be worthless now. Nothing is the same. Oh, you have a German Shepherd who murders moles and gophers for sport. Good dog. One of my cats killed a mole once. When he caught a gopher, he would eat it, but not the mole. Moles are nasty. I miss my dog, but I can't get one because one vet bill would ruin me financially. Yeah, Tandy. Many of the Radio Shack products used to be labeled Tandy or Tandy Corp. Got itchy in my throat. It's in one little spot. Sorry about that. I suppose I do have a cough button, but my mouse went to sleep, so I can't click it. I have never mastered the mouse pad. I have enough trouble with my phone. I'm trying to answer a phone call and it opens YouTube. Drives me crazy. Well, let's see, what else is interesting? We got war, we got shortages, we got outrageous gasoline prices. Up here on the mountain, regular is $7 a gallon. You go down the hill, it's a little less than $6. Lovely. Oh, at Sequentia keeps finding stores closed when they want to buy stuff. Does anybody else remember Zody's? ZODY''S. It must have been, yeah, it was the late 70s, maybe, yeah, late 70s. 77, 6 or 7, somewhere in there. I bought my first brand new TV there. Unused, untouched by human hands. They were a brand new store and they gave me a credit card and everything. I had a $50 limit, which just covered the TV, but I had to pay cash for the sales tax. It was a little tiny thing, but it was really cool. And then by the time I paid off the credit card at $5 a month, which was, with interest, about a year, Zody's was out of business. Do we still export more oil than any other country? I don't know if we have that much available now, because even though the land leases have been granted, the oil companies don't yet have the permits to drill. All they have is a lease of the land. And in many places, they don't have the permits to run a pipeline. In Culver City, where I spent most of my childhood, I was born there, the oil was oozing up out of the ground right at the base of the Baldwin Hills, right next to Jefferson Boulevard. They did have little donkey engines to pump it, but there's oil all over the ground and tar, oil and tar. Well, I've been thinking since the 1960s when I heard the adults around me talking about oil. Our leaders in the U.S. want all the other countries in the world to deplete their oil reserves so that eventually we'll be the only ones who have it. So that might have something to do with these manufactured oil shortages, oil and gas. And our brilliant governor of California wants to force us to make our homes all electric and stop using natural gas. Well, here in the mountains, that would kill people. We have power outages, sometimes lasting several days or even a week in the middle of winter when it's 20 degrees. That's Fahrenheit, less than 0 centigrade. We had a mild winter this year. It didn't get colder than about 28, but 32 is freezing, so you see, that's pretty darn cold. We heat our homes with gas or propane for people who are not on natural gas. They have to truck in propane and fill the tank with it. Well, anyway, people could die without electricity. And the only alternative, because you can't very well power a solar heater when it's snowing, would be to go to the local Ace Hardware and buy some bottles of propane and use portable propane heaters, which is kind of a fire hazard. Let's see. V says, when we lived in the mountains, they outlawed our only heat source, the fireplace and wood stove. Oh, violation and fines. Evil. Well, I have a wood stove, but the chimney has to have all this stuff on it so you won't pollute the air. And in Oregon, fireplace, chimneys, whether it's wood stove or fireplace, have to have all these scrubbers on the top of the chimney. Now, that I don't mind too much, but my chimney needs to be cleaned. I can't use my wood stove until it is cleaned. It wouldn't be safe. But every time I try to get someone to clean it, either it's an outrageously high price or they want to sell me a new wood stove. Oh, this is an old one. Blah, blah, blah. They claim it isn't UL listed, but it has the plaque, the metal plaque on the back that says it is. Or they'll say, oh, it's too close to the wall, we have to move it. Well, how do you move the chimney? It's kind of attached to the roof. Oh, well, if you have enough money. I happen to know that the heat resistant stuff that's on my walls is compliant and safe, but not when the chimney is backing up smoke into the house. It probably has creosote built up, and that could start a chimney fire, which would be disastrous. One building in particular, in the commercial part of town, is made of concrete blocks. They call them cinder blocks because after many moons ago, their office building burned down. They decided it was never going to burn down again. Times are rather interesting. Shortages, not only in the grocery store, all kinds of stores. Why are we importing things from China and not making them ourselves? I can't even get customer service from someone who speaks English. Actually, the one contact I have from Verizon is some guy in Tennessee. I think he's in Nashville. But most customer services people overseas, and yeah, they speak English fairly well, but they really don't understand the problem that you're having with some software or hardware. I prefer either a text message or an email because then it's in writing. They can study it and look it up. Uh, oh well. I've got weeds to pull, cats to feed, all kinds of stuff. Oh, hi, Jason. Yeah, I think my chat room is the best part of this platform. I like being able to chat with listeners. Oh, Google says Saudi Arabia exports more oil than we do. Well, we used to export a lot more. Oh, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of slaves here. Although I'm beginning to think that the entitled elite consider us, all of us, their slaves. Jason started a new job. Yay. Oh, wow. Yeah, digital appliances. V is having trouble finding non digital appliances. Well, my old washing machine is not digital. In fact, as far as I know, none of my appliances is connected to the internet. The my radio has a knob that you turn, one for volume and one for the station. I think my coffee maker is digital, but it is not on the internet. Oh, Jason's an assistant manager. That's cool. Good for you. Of course, you have to deal with customers, don't you? As well as employees. Oh, here's Tora. You come say hi to your adoring fans right now. Oh, God, she's heavy. Look how big she's getting. She used to fit in the image completely, and now, God, you weigh a lot. Say hi to your adoring fans. Don't wiggle away yet. Oh, man. I, She's getting to where I won't be able to pick her up. She's so big. Yeah. Oh, she's a big girl. Okay, yeah, you get treats because you said hi. She started that purring that is not I love you purring, but I'm going to kill you purring. Yes. Oh, well, I haven't given Tora any Vegemite. She did help me eat some chicken livers yesterday. My cats are definitely not vegans. That's a good girl, Tora. Once in a while, Sweetie lets me touch her if I have treats in my hand, but there's no way I could ever pick her up. It would be too stressful for her, and she'd probably tear me to shreds with her claws. Yeah, you're a big girl. You're a great big cat. She is half bobcat, and boy, is it showing. Yeah, you, pretty girl. Yeah, well, dogs can eat more veggies. Cats really shouldn't eat veggies. Dogs actually are omnivores. They need meat and vegetables. Oh, Jason is popular. He has an interview for another job after work, so he can pick the which one he wants. Oh, just catnip, eh? Cardinal Sin, yeah, catnip. She does kind of react to catnip, but Sweetie goes nuts over catnip. Doesn't she? Oh, she's doing the paw thing on my leg. Good thing I'm wearing blue jeans. Well, they're black, but they're jeans. She isn't too good about retracting her claws. Here you go, have some more. Yeah, I know, I just tortured you, making you look at the kitty in the monitor. Uh, Cats. We have been on for an hour and a half. Well, there's this. They say it's an old Chinese saying, but it really isn't. But it sounds like something Confucius might have thought of. It's supposed to be an ancient Chinese curse, but some American made it up. And it's called May You Live in Interesting Times. Oh, Cardinal's sending me something. Okay. Seems to me I have an interview coming up. Not this Saturday, must be the following one. Again on Solaris Blue Raven. Well, Jason, it's always the end times, and you must always live as if it were. What the early Christians believed was not that Jesus would return in their lifetime, but that he could return at any time. So it's kind of like, uh, okay, mom's coming home or dad's coming home, and all the kids clean up their room real quick and act all innocent and wash the chocolate cake off their hands and faces. Oh, I'd love to be on your show again, Cardinal Sin. Someone else invited me recently. Oh, the astrologer, Robert Phoenix. I've been on his show a few times. I was on Clyde Lewis's other show, not Ground Zero, the other one. I still can't remember what it's called. Oh, Solaris Blue Raven, yeah. Um, I don't know if she's on YouTube. She's on. Let me see if I can find it. You can probably re-listen. Um, whoops. Uh, uh. All right. What have you done, you evil thing? Okay. Here we go. Um, everything imaginable. That's a cheat. That's not it. Copy link. Here we go. That's Solaris. Everything imaginable. 2020.com. Oh, Jason got a new laptop. Excellent. Cardinal Sin's channel is Cardinal Sin. Ralph? Okay. Lord. Cardinal Sin does some really good stuff. He went through, for example, every episode of The Prisoner. Why do I get the wrong name into my head and I can't kick it out? You know, the sequel to Secret Agent and Danger Man, Patrick McGowan. And he had two experts with him. One episode per show. Oh, yeah. Ay, ay, ay. It really is a Philip K. Dick world. The Prisoner was awesome show. I wasn't too thrilled with the ending, but oh well. It's sort of like telling us that we're all prisoners, even if we're not on that island. Yeah, Jason agrees it's a Philip K. Dick world. Let's see. I've given up reporting people for threatening me online or calling me all kinds of names, But man, on one show I said something, I don't even know what I said. The YouTube deleted my video. It won't tell me why. But they did put a little note way down at the bottom of their form email that said misinformation. Okay. What misinformation? Oh, more downloading our brains and personalities. Well, I'm sure that they can develop an AI, artificial intelligence, that might convince you or me that it's a real human being. But the AI itself would not have that awareness. It wouldn't know that it was a simulacrum, but it wouldn't know that it was human either. It would have no such concept. It might be programmed to say, yes, I'm a real human being, or yes, I'm an AI, but it wouldn't know what that means. It's kind of the thing with 100 monkeys typing on typewriters for 100 years. Eventually, one of them will type a coherent sentence, but not one of those monkeys would know it. Yeah, I appealed, Cardinalson, I appealed the takedown and they denied it within minutes. So obviously they weren't, um, really taking my appeal seriously. Eternal life through technology. Yeah, good luck with that. As far as I'm concerned, death is not the end, it's another beginning. And I want to see what's on the other side. Yeah, the monkeys could type the complete works of Shakespeare, although you'd need an infinite number of monkeys typing forever, but not one of those. Well, et sequentia. Oh, someone else approved your post before I read it. That's okay. I don't know what YouTube didn't like about that. Uh, Elon Musk will buy Twitter and download all our brains. I've joined Twitter, but I just don't have an interest in it. Once in a great while, I see something that an actual real world friend posted, and I go ahead and click the little heart. But most of it is clickbait. Where you click on something really interesting, and either there's a paywall and you have to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal or whatever to read it, or it's just a whole bunch of ads that they're making money on because you clicked. I don't think we come back. But Jason, remember in Revelation, behold, I am making a new heavens and a new earth. And it's got to be better than this one. Oh, They Live. Yeah, good documentary. I want those sunglasses that Roddy Piper wore in that movie. I'm going to have to watch that again. I think it is on YouTube for free. They Live. Might be on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something. Yeah, and on that note, it kind of reminds me of the Puppet Masters. where these aliens had embedded themselves in the brains of all the leaders of the free world. Yeah, I don't want my brain hacked. It would crash their system. It's so full of contradictions. Well, I think at least some aliens are angels, not necessarily fallen angels. Some of them might be the good guys. Ah, new studio. Good for you, Cardinal Sin. And it has an art print of They Live. All right. I got itchies and I didn't brush my hair this morning. Wow. That's why I'm doing all this with my hair. It's tickling my ears and making them itch. Must be time to wash it. Let's see. And Jason has a cartoon of Fauci. Oh, yeah. Never mind. Apparently, Fauci is on the way out. The Biden administration plans to eliminate his position, so he won't have a job. I'm sure he doesn't need one. I'm sure his retirement is more than most Americans make in their lifetime. His pension. He's been working, 35, 40 years for the government? Yeah. I never know whether to pronounce that mem or meme, Jason. M-E-M-E. It isn't Mimi. Reminds me of my third grade teacher, Mrs. Chin. Second half of third grade, before we moved, it was someone else. She was from China, and she had all of us students so terrified of her that we did not dare correct her when she talked about an Ewe lamb. E-W-E. Yeah, if you sound it out and you are not a native speaker, it looks like Ewe, but it's ewe, a ewe lamb, a female. Sheep. Reminds me, this morning on one of the news clips on YouTube, I heard another one of my pet peeves. Remember, Omni is I am going to. Let's see. This was, I've forgotten it, but it ended with duh instead of do, D-O. No, it was T-O, too, and they pronounced it duh. Take care, Cardinal Sin. I'm going to be signing off soon because I'm just rambling. I recommend that you all watch these science fiction movies that are just entertainment. Couldn't possibly be real. Oh, Ralph Winter has been to Wuhan. Well, I'm sure that the Chinese people are wonderful. I got no problem with them. Some guy named Harari is working with some guy named Klaus. Okay. They're all working together. Yeah, go watch They Live and The Puppet Masters. The book was by Robert Heinlein. The movie doesn't really follow his story too closely, but it's still a good movie. I do not recommend Starship Troopers. Uh, I have a high tolerance for violence in movies, but not for Starship Troopers. Fighting a war against giant insects? Way back in the dark ages, before 1960, I think, there was a movie called Them. And after a nuclear accident or a bomb test of something atomic, the ants became huge, the size of an elephant. And the other old black and white horror movie that really scared me doesn't anymore, but when I was a kid it scared me. It was Tarantula. And there was a gigantic tarantula smashing houses even. And it had McDonald Carey, I think. It was either McDonald Carey or Topper, the original Topper. Oh, forgot his name again. Anyway, as the scientist, uh, Topper. Okay, I'm getting a pizza place called Topper. Topper actor. Leo G. Carroll. Okay, now, tarantula actor. Leo G. Carroll. So it was the guy who played Topper. MacDonald Carey was a great film actor who ended up on a soap opera. I think it was Days of Our Lives. Oh, Starship Troopers has something imagery. Oh, yeah. Well, have a good day, you too, Jason. I gotta go too. But do watch They Live, even if you've seen it before. So thank you all for listening and have a great day. Of course, I have a typo. See ya. Bye.